Welcome to another exciting adventure in Photoshop. I am so glad you guys are still here. What we're going to do now is talk about how to download files from an assignment and how to save them. Let me make a quick confession. I'm kind of OCD, and sometimes when I'm helping students and I look at how you guys save your files and it just looks like a jumbled mess, I kind of go crazy. So I want to start things off on the right foot. And before I start downloading stuff, I wanted to let everybody know that when you download Creative Cloud, you get free Creative Cloud storage. Now, what on earth is a cloud? It doesn't mean that you're saving your documents in the sky. I know that you guys know this. Saving to a document cloud means that you're saving your work on a computer or server somewhere in the world, and it gets connected to you via the internet. So imagine that it's just a computer that's not at your house, it's somewhere else. That's what the cloud is. And you get free storage. And the thing that's really nice about saving to a cloud is that it's accessible anywhere that you have internet. So if you start this assignment at home and then you want to continue working on it on campus or your office, you can log into the cloud and have access to all of your files there. So what I'd like to do first is show you guys how to access your Creative Cloud. Now, if you have already downloaded Creative Cloud, if you come to your Finder or Windows Explorer menu, you should see a new folder called Creative Cloud. Now, I have mine in my favorites. Yours might be somewhere else, but you should see that on your drive somewhere. So please take a quick pause and try to find that. And I'm going to show you one other place to try and find that as well. But let's try to locate your Creative Cloud files. Now, if you're back and you had a little bit of trouble finding it, I want to show one other place where you can find it. Now, up at the top of your screen, you should see, and I know I'm going to the bottom of my screen, but up at the top of your screen, you should see an icon that looks like this, but it could be black and white. Mine is right here. And when I click on it, this menu pops up, and this menu here is most likely going to take you to your apps. That's how a lot of you guys sent it to me. But if you go to a link called your work, that also gets you into your Creative Cloud. So what we're looking for is your work that is saved to the Creative Cloud web. So go ahead and click on the little world. And right now you probably don't have anything, so I'm going to click on my Cloud Documents, and you can see all of the junk that I have in here. Okay, during the quarantine, I've been doing lots of fun, crafty stuff. So there's like no school stuff in here. Scroll down. Oh, there's some school stuff all the way down here. But eventually, this is what your Creative Cloud will start to look like as well. So in a nutshell, what I see here in my Finder on my computer is the exact same thing that's here, with a couple of exceptions. So if you look at my documents, do you see these little green checks next to it? That means it has been synced and uploaded to the cloud. So the same thing that exists on my computer is on the cloud. If you see a caution sign or a warning sign, it means that there is some sort of an error. Either it didn't get uploaded because I wasn't online, or maybe I started working on a document at home, I didn't save it, and then I went to school and I opened that same document and I kept working on it, so there's a conflicting copy. The other thing that you can see are these blue arrows right here. That means it's working to sync. Typically, you want to see that green check mark. Okay, that's what we'll be looking for. So when we start saving, if possible, I want you guys to save to the document cloud whenever you save these. Now, let's say for whatever reason you don't have access to the cloud right now, go ahead and at least make a dedicated folder on your computer somewhere so that we can put all of this stuff in one place. So for example, for today's files, what I'm going to do is instead of clicking on it, so if I click on it, it's going to download, but typically it goes to my documents. Okay, I want to tell my computer where I want these to be saved. So what I'd rather you guys do is to right click, Save Link As. On a Windows machine, if you click on it, it automatically puts it in your downloads. And again, we don't want to have all of our classwork be in our downloads that might accidentally get erased. So again, right click, Save Link As. It might say something a little bit different like Save File As. Again, I'm on Google Chrome, so it might read a little bit different. Now from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to Creative Cloud. I'm going to find my SLCC folder, and I have this Digital Graphics 2020 folder already made. What I want you to do is to make sure you have a digital graphics folder so that everything goes in here. Now this is the extent of my OCD. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Module 2 because that's what we're working on today. So all of my files are going to go into Module 2. And again, to create a new folder, I did that really quickly. You can either hit this plus sign, click on New Folder. Sometimes I think Control or Command N does it. Nope, that didn't do it. It opened up a new window. If you need more help with that, please let me know. But those are some computer basics that you should be pretty comfortable with already. But again, I'm happy to review it. So I'll save that first one, and I'm going to go ahead and save the rest of them. So go ahead and pause right now. Make your folders, find your Creative Cloud, get everything saved, and then the next time you come back, meet me in Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and pause the lecture for now, and I'll meet you in Photoshop. You don't need to have anything opened yet. Again, I'll just meet you right in Photoshop. All right, now that you're back, you guys should have had a minute to go and download all of the files from Module 2. And what I want to talk about are the types of files that you can open with and work on in Photoshop. There are so many different kinds of files, and what I'd like to do is open the file folder in Photoshop so you can see how to open different files. So go ahead and go up to File. I'm sorry if it's cut off here. And you can see that there's a shortcut, Command O or Control O. Either way, it'll do the same thing. So let me click off Command O, and that takes us to an Open menu. Now go ahead and navigate to the folder that you just made that has all of your assignments, or sorry, all of the images for this assignment. So you can see all of them right here. Now, as I mentioned before, you can see that 3 of them have already uploaded to the cloud, and 3 of them are still syncing because they're the larger file sizes. So Photoshop works with several different files, but in this class, we are going to focus on PSD, which stands for Photoshop Document, and JPEG. JPEGs are really the most common types of image files that you guys will find on the internet, as well as on your phone, and also in this class. So those are the 2 most common and the ones that we'll be working for in this class. Now there are also TIFFs, there are PNGs, and there are GIFs, and we'll talk about those a little bit right now, but not in too much depth. So the difference between a JPEG and a PSD is that a JPEG is essentially a flat file, which I'm about to show you, and a PSD has different layers in it. All right, you should have all of your files downloaded from Module 2, and what I'm going to do is open up one of the files to get us started. So to open a document in Photoshop, up at the top of your menu, you can go to File and then Open. And again, I'm sorry if the word File is cut off, or the shortcut is Command O if you're on a Mac, or Control O if you are on a Windows machine. So go ahead and navigate to the folder where you saved everything. And we are going to start by opening 01photoshopexample.jpg. Now there are 2 different files here by that name. One of them is a PSD and one of them is a JPEG. Then we just open it and it comes up right on your screen. Now this is going to be really common for you guys to have to download and open exercise files before we get started. So that's how you open it. Just Command or Control O or File Open. What I'd like to do is go over a little bit about the file types that we'll be working on in this class. Now, we will mainly be using JPEGs, which we just opened. It's a really common file. You can use them online, on your phone, just about anywhere. And we will also be using PSDs, or Photoshop documents. Now, Photoshop documents are a little bit trickier because we can pretty much only use them in Photoshop. It's not like something that you can email to somebody else and have them be able to easily open it and view it and edit it. You're really only sharing them with other people that you know for a fact have Photoshop installed. There are so many different image files online. There are TIFFs, PNGs, JPEGs, I've already mentioned that, GIFs, there's also PDFs. Now, there are a few differences between them, and the big difference is that some of them they have the ability to have layers. You don't know what that means yet, but you will. So PSDs and TIFF files can have layers in them, as well as GIFs. And the other thing that makes them different is that some of these files can have what's called a transparent pixel, which means that the pixel is invisible. So if you have something behind it, it'll show through. And then others can't have transparent pixels. They will always be white. And JPEGs are in that family. So JPEGs cannot have transparent pixels. But Photoshop files can have transparent pixels. PNGs can. As well as some GIFs. So that's where we're going to get started. So again, in this class, we will mainly be working in PSDs and JPEG files. Now, to get us started, we've learned how to open a file, and we are going to learn how to navigate around just a little bit. This will be really important, so again, you can see what I'm clicking on and what's going on here. So this is our workspace in Photoshop, and when we are working, 99% of the time, I want your cursor to look just like this. Do you see my cursor right now? Sorry, I just got an email. That was awkward. Let me put that on mute. This is what I want your cursor to look like. And your cursor, by default, should be the Move command, which is right here. Move or select. So when I hover over that, you can see this is called the Move tool, and the shortcut to get there is V. So go ahead and click on something else, maybe the brush tool, and you can see that the cursor does change, and then hit V, just the keyboard V, and it changes it back. So I'm going to hit B without going over here to brush. So B for brush, you can see my cursor is different, and then back to V, as in V for move. That's where they're going with that one. This is where I want you to be 90% of the time. So visually, I want you to verify two things. One, that your cursor looks like this arrow with the four-headed arrow next to it. And then two, quickly look over at your tools and make sure that the Move tool is selected. I think that this will answer about 60% of your questions right off the bat, okay? So it's really important to know what tool you are selected on. I will mention right now that Photoshop is very, very, very subtle. So it's not like that mom that says, oh, I don't want you to get anything for Mother's Day, but she really means it. She's that mom that doesn't say anything about Mother's Day, but expects you to get like a dozen roses and chocolates and gets very angry when you don't. That is Photoshop. It is very, very subtle. We are going to learn about those subtleties right now, again, to help answer 60% of your questions in the future. So again, the first thing is know what tool that you're in. 90% of the time, which one should you be in? I know you're talking to your computer. Hopefully you said it in your head. Again, it should be V. It should look just like this. I'm going to dance on my screen. Woohoo! Okay, the second thing that I want to talk about on our screen right now is our layers menu. Now, if your screen doesn't look exactly like my screen right now, stop the lecture right now, back up a lecture, and change your screen so that our workspace is the exact same, okay? So looking here, we have got our layer menu, and what I can do is take my cursor. You can see there's these really subtle little like dots or grip points, and as soon as you see this double-headed arrow, you can click and drag down and make that a little bit larger. So if you have more than one layer, the list will be right here. And your layer includes a preview of what you're looking at. This eyeball says whether or not it's on or off. I can't change that because this particular one is locked, and the layer name. Not very exciting right now, I know, but I promise it will get more exciting in just a moment. So again, you can see here, it's just one layer, and if I take my move cursor and I put it over the image and I click and drag, nothing's really happening. I do get a warning. It's saying that the selected layer is the background, you can't move one. Basically, it's not going to let you do anything. So I'm going to hit cancel. What I want you guys to do now is let's open the PSD version of this file. Do you remember how to do that? If you do, go ahead and hit pause, open it up, and I'll meet you back here as soon as you've opened that PSD. So go ahead and hit pause. I'm going to go ahead and copy you now. I'm going to go to File, Open, or the shortcut, say it out loud, say it in your head, Command O or Control O. And this time I'm going to grab 01 Photoshop example.psd. So a little bit different there. And let's check out the differences between a Photoshop file and a JPEG. And in fact, go ahead and pause and take a look, just on your own. What's different about the two files? Hopefully you immediately noticed that the differences are in the layers. So we have one here and it's called background, and here, let's list them off. We've got SLCC logo, we've got favorite teacher, wink wink nudge nudge, we've got professional outfit. If you haven't met me in person, you don't know any better that whether I look like this or not. Let's just keep it at that. And then we have our same background layer. So in this particular file, we have 4 layers. So let's talk about subtleties right now. We've got our cursor in Move, and you will notice that if I click on the Salt Lake Community College logo in this file right here, you have to be really careful. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let me talk about zooming in. If yours is small like mine, do this for me. Hold your Alt key down. So on your keyboard, hold the Alt key, and then with your roller ball, move up, and that zooms in. Okay. You can also hit Command or Control plus or minus to zoom in and out. So 2 ways: hold the Alt key, roller ball up, and roller ball down. So sorry, roller ball down is zoom out, roller ball up is zoom in. Okay, or Command or Control minus or plus does the same thing. So I just wanted to zoom in a little bit more. Now again, what I was trying to show you is to click on the community college logo. See how I can't click out into the sky? It's not selected yet, and I know that because it's not highlighted. But if I click on an area where it's actually black from the text or the logo, do you see that this very subtly gets selected? So how do I know it's selected? It turns from this dark gray to this light gray. Now click on favorite teacher. It wasn't the outfit, but it's the face. Okay? One really important thing, in order for you to select things by clicking on them, come up here and make sure auto select is on. So I'm going to dance around. Do you see where auto select is? Make sure that this is checked. If it's not, then you won't be able to automatically click on items and have them be selected in your layer menu. Again, this is another bulk of questions that come up. Students forget what layer they're working on or what layer is active or selected. And again, you know it's selected by what gets highlighted over here. So since we're in our move command, once we have something selected, we can click and drag and move it around. Wow, congratulations, you know Photoshop. You can see right now that you can move the logo over my head. Not very nice. Let me make it look like a hat. Okay, and let's talk about layer order. Whatever is at the top of this list is kind of in front of everything. And this should be hopefully a little bit obvious because your background will always be at the end or the very back of that list. So if I wanted to move this SLCC logo behind my head, I come over here to my layer menu, I click and drag, and then I can move it down the list. Now it's behind my head. If I wanted to kind of tattoo the SLCC logo on my face again, I move it back up and it's in front. So again, the layer menu controls the order in which your layers are shown, and it also controls and shows you what's being selected. Now, while we're here, let's make sure you're comfortable. These thumbnails are really tiny, and if you want, you can make them a little bit bigger. If you click on these lines here in the upper right corner, you can actually go down to panel options. I'll hang out here for just a minute if you're following along. And then in your panel options, you can make them different sizes. I'll make mine a little bit bigger just so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm clicking on. So not huge, but still a little bit better than what it was before. So again, click on the menu, go down to panel options, and select whichever one is best for you. Let's talk about moving around a little bit more. So I'm going to move the Salt Lake Community College logo, and if I try to move myself, oh, busted, not me, you can see that my head didn't move with my body. Okay, so two things to address here. One, I didn't want to move. So one of, I think, our favorite commands will be Control Z or undo, or Command Z. So if I do Control Z, it'll undo it and move back. One thing that's really cool, I'm actually going to move it again. In Photoshop, we have the History toolbar over here. So go ahead and hit on the History toolbar, make it bigger, just like we did our layers, and you can see that it records everything that you do. So if I wanted to move it, all the way back to when I opened it, that's what it looked like when I opened it. Now at some point, once you start working on it, like if I take this and move it, see how I lost everything after that point? So you can either do, let me move a whole bunch of stuff. You see I have 3 moves. You can either click up here on layer order or keep hitting Control Z. And every time I hit Control Z, it undoes a step, and you can see it undoing it right here. Now this is where I sound like an old lady and I say, you whippersnappers have no idea of how lucky you are, but up until about 3 months ago, you could only do a Control Z once and do an undo, or you had to come back to this menu. Now you have the luxury of just hitting Control or Command Z, which is undo, over and over and over again. If you've taken AutoCAD or even Revit, it does something really similar. You have kind of unlimited undos, and now we have it in Photoshop, which is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this menu again by hitting these 2 right arrows, and I'm going to come back over here. So let's take our SLCC logo and kind of put it over here on the left side. And I'm going to show you a couple other things. So far I've shown you how to grab one thing, but if you wanted to move, my model body as well as my face, let me undo this, you can easily do that by holding the Shift key down and selecting on another layer. So let me do that one more time. I click on the professional outfit, I hold the Shift key, and I click on my face. You can see over here, now both of them are selected, and that makes it easy for me to move both my face and my body around. So go ahead and take me for a walk. Lord knows with this COVID-19 stuff going on at home, I'm here. This is like the most exercise I've done in like 2 months. Okay? Kind of fun, right? Just say yes. Let's do one other thing. While I have my head and my body selected, let me show you a really quick command. I'm a giant right now, correct? Go ahead and right now hit Control T or Command T, and this is one of the most basic Photoshop commands. This allows us to transform an object, which is basically resizing it. Grab any one of these squares, and you can make me small, or you can make me really tall again, okay? And to be honest, if we want it to be a little bit more realistic, if you grab one of these side panels and hold the Shift key, this is probably what I really look like in person. I'm just saying, I still look amazing, but it's just a little bit more realistic, okay? So if you want to change the proportion, you hold Shift down while dragging one of these, okay? And if you let go of Shift, it just lets you do it proportionately. So I'm going to get really pixelated, but I'm going to go on a walk by the tree. Down, 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 and then when you're done, hit the Enter key, and that's what I look like. Yay, congratulations, I've been photoshopped. Now, because I am your favorite teacher, who wouldn't want more Naimas walking around? Here's another fun command. This time, take a look at my cursor. When I hold the Alt key, do you see that it turns into a double arrow? This means that I'm going to be duplicating something. So find me, and then drag me over. I have a twin. I have a triplet. There's 4 of me. At this point, I'm a TLC special. Okay, so make some duplicate copies of me. Again, I'm your favorite teacher. Why wouldn't you want more of me around? And you can see that every time you made a copy, 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 they're all here in your layers. There's a whole bunch of me. If I've offended you and you want to get rid of me, do you see this little trash can? You can take that layer, I think it's these 2 right here, so I'm going to hold Shift, you can throw me away. Super sad, but now I'm gone. Maybe I was too much, I don't know. I won't be offended. So that's a really quick overview on how to take all of your different layers and control them. Okay, we're mostly at the V command. We learned how to duplicate a layer, we've learned how to reorder them, and then we've also learned how to duplicate them. So lots of little things. Now before I let you go from this particular menu, what I'd also like you guys to do is to come up and save this to kind of verify your work. And we're going to save it 2 different ways. With most of your assignments, I want you guys to send me the JPEG and the PSD. So for this, we're going to go up to File, and we're going to go to Save, and you can see that it saved the PSD. But now we're going to go back up and do a Save As, and we're going to save a JPEG copy of this. So I'm going to come here, and your menu might look a little bit different if you're on a Windows machine, but here we say Photoshop File Example, and under Format, click on it, scroll down to where you see JPEG, and it might get mad at you because we already have one here, so go ahead and add your name to this. So I'm just going to add Nawabi. I could have done Naima, but Nawabi feels cooler. And then go ahead and hit Save, and it's going to ask you some options. At this point, we're just going to do the default Photoshop save. So whatever it says, click on OK, and now you have a JPEG and a PSD of this. So if I were to close this, I'm going to close this one too. If I look at my menu, here is the history. So here is my PSD. I'm hovering over it, so it gives me more information. And then if I hover over this one, here is the JPEG. Okay. I can also go back to Open, and I can see them right here. So now if I go to the Photoshop example, I should be able to see all of those little mini Naimas. Okay, so you can verify some of your work there. So go ahead and turn these two files in as part of your exercise. Go ahead and do that and then come back and then we'll do another part of this exercise as well.